obviously there's been some amazing talks this morning, and some pretty interesting stuff that I didn't even really know, and it's been a great insight to me, for me. Unfortunately for you, I'm just going to talk about myself. So, but I try not to bore you too much. And so basically, this is my journey, and my dream of making the ocean my office. And it started in North Devon when I was about 7, and straight away that I wanted to be, I want to be a professional surfer. That's what I wanted to do: spend as much time on the beach as possible. Unfortunately, when it came to the old career choices, it wasn't really down there. And I got pretty much told, you can't be a professional surfer, you can't spend every day on the beach, you've got to get a job. So I decided that I wanted to work in the surf industry, and I worked in a factory in Willicombe. It was close to home, and I made surfboards, and this enabled me to pretty much live my dream, be a professional surfer, earn some money, and travel a lot. And one of the places it sort of took me was Hawaii, and this is my first trip to Hawaii when I was like 19. And this one of these trips to Hawaii, because it's still very much like I was after that thing, I wanted to be a professional surfer. And it was in Hawaii that I learned a lot about my surfing and my ability, pretty much. And the thing was, so this is Kelly Slater, 11-time world champion. You can see like this, that's the sort of surfing that I want to do. It's athletic, it's like gymnastic, it's quick. He's winning competitions, and it was all about the competitions and about, that's how you become a big wave, a professional surfer, and live your dream. Is you got to win competitions, you got to do those tricks, And the trouble is that I was just terrible at that. I couldn't do it. And whilst in Hawaii, I learned that my surfing was completely different, and it was not as technical. It was just going straight, pretty much. Like my mates that I was travelling with, they could do airs, they could do turns, and I was, I could link a few turns together, but it was never that good. But when the waves got big, we sort of, I was able to put myself in those positions and catch good waves, whereas my mates who were beating me in the competitions and were sponsored, and they didn't want anything to do with it. And I found out very quickly that that's what my surfing, that's where I excelled. It's just like commitment and putting myself in those situations. But unfortunately, I lived that little era in my life, and I worked in that factory, and I travelled every winter. But it came about 25 when you get that pressure from, it's usually the parents. It's mainly my dad, to be honest. Like, okay, you got to get a proper job. You can't continue travelling every winter. You got no money. You haven't got, So I got sent back to the careers office, and this time I chose plumber, and I quit my job, went back to college, started studying plumbing, did pretty well, got an apprenticeship pretty quickly, and very quickly my surfing started turning into weekends. And after I finished my apprenticeship, I got a job with a solar panel company. I was laying underfloor heating, and it was on the outside looking like I was doing really well, and I was earning good money. But the trouble is that my passion, it just wasn't in toilets, it wasn't in lane, it wasn't in pipes, it wasn't in, I just couldn't stand it. And every time I went to work, I was thinking about this. I was thinking about surfing, and how can I make this my job? And that's great. Like, some of my mates that I was working with were passionate about toilets and pipes, but I wasn't, And about this time, I met a guy in Ireland, and a guy called Al Menny, and he was sort of saying to me that, he knew that I was a keen big wave surfer. We'd done a couple of trips together, and he was saying, come to Ireland, we're going to get a jet ski, and I've seen it on the internet, we're going to tow into massive waves, and Ireland's like this new, like the next best thing, and it's cheaper than Hawaii, you don't have to travel so far, you can stay at home, and this is how we can ride big waves. So we chipped in for a jet ski, and this is my first time. This is me driving the jet ski in Ireland, and pretty much I was pretty green to riding jet skis, and as you can see, I was definitely not a natural. And So that was my first time big wave surfing in Ireland, and yeah, it didn't go quite to plan, and yeah, the ski was a write-off. We got rescued. It was just a shitstorm, and very quickly I could have just gone, okay, yeah, fair enough. Like, I'm pretty shit at this. I'm gonna reapply for my job back on the building site and try and take off from where I left off. But Al had a very sort of different approach, and he was just like, no, let's get another ski. Let's like train hard. And we were like, we didn't have anyone to teach us. We were just sort of looking on the internet, just making up as we went along, pretty much making up as we went along. And we did keep at it, and we started getting a bit better, getting a bit of exposure. About a few years later, so this time it's Al driving the ski, and this is me surfing at the same spot, and this is at Mulletmore in Ireland. And this is the first wave I sort of caught, which put me into like an international sort of field of big wave surfing, and it gave me, I got an XXL for this wave, and it's a great turning point in my surfing where like, let's see if we can get back and we can watch it again. And so the day before this swell, I've been in Ireland for 3 months, and we hadn't surfed a wave over 4 foot. Most of my mates had left. They'd gone back to Devon, and it was like March the 8th, and the day before this swell, my mates were like, oh, it's never going to happen, it'll be windy, it'll be rubbish, let's just go. I decided to stay, and the day before, I went up to the headland by myself in my car, and I envisioned what I wanted to do. I wanted to get like one of the biggest waves of the day. I was going to go straight to the bottom. I was going to come in face. I was going to turn in. I was going to get barreled. I was going to come out. It's going to be amazing. And I thought about that for probably an hour and a half, 2 hours maybe. And I went through that wave like thousands and thousands of times. And the next morning, I got up. Me and Al were the first out there. He just jumped in the water. The first wave that came to me, no one else caught a wave at this point, was that wave. And I did exactly what the second that I let go of that rope, I'd surfed that wave billions of times before. I knew exactly what I was going to do, and I'd come mid face, and it was almost like slow motion, like the lip coming over my head, and I was like mid face, like, oh my god, this is it. This is what I've been thinking, and the only thing that didn't happen was that it spat so hard that I sort of got whisked away on the foam ball, like, and it looked heavy, but that was probably the most mellow wipeout I've ever had. Like, I was like almost like on a bed of, I don't know, feathers or something, And I can remember like coming up, going, whoa, like it was almost a bit of a weird trippy thing because it was all slow mo, and I was like, Al was like, mate, that was probably like the biggest wave I've ever seen at Mulletmore. And I was like, he's like, what was the wipeout like? And I was like nothing. Like, it was like nothing. It was like I've had worse wipeouts at Croyd, So yeah, that's that wave. Right, okay. So I'm just going to try and stop that. Oh, so this next bit that I'm going to show you is from there I started to go to Nazare, and this is about changing what you learn, or adapting what you do, and it comes in. So when we were in Nazare, it was like a different story, and I don't know if anyone's seen any of the footage of Nazare, but it's a big beach break, and it's dangerous and it's scary, and straight away we learnt very quickly is that we had to approach Nazare very differently than we approached other waves. And one of the first things we learnt was that never wear your kill cord, and if there's only one in the RNLI here, that's the first thing they like. You've always got to wear your kill cord, like to your jet ski. So if you get washed off, the jet ski stops. And we fell off the jet skis a lot in Nazare, and the second the kill cord came out, you definitely lose the ski because you could never get back on the ski, start it up again. So that's the first thing we learned very quickly. The second thing was that where we used to launch the skis in the harbour, which is a big fishing, Nazare is like a fishing town. The harbour was like there was so much plastic, so much rope. Like 9 times out of 10, like jet skis run on like suck and push, so they suck water in and push it out. Like you would generally not get out of the harbour without the ski breaking down. It would get stuck in there. So like we were like, it was like a nightmare. So we had to sort of, and it's about teaching. It was a very new thing to Nazare with the jet skis, and So we were like we organised some cleans, some beach cleans, but also some harbour cleans, and it was about teaching like the fishermen. Yeah, okay. And although they use the sits there, sometimes they're the worst. Like it's like they're repairing the nets on the harbour and just throwing everything into the sea, And it's about educating them to just change their little things that they do. Yeah, don't throw it into the water, just put it into a bag, and then and that started that. So this next thing is probably that's obviously a jet ski floating, and this is me swimming to the jet ski, and it was that one thing about not wearing a kill cord and driving a ski who saved me in this. And I got washed off the ski and managed to get back on the ski, and luckily it was still running, and I managed just to get over like one of the waves of the day. And at this point, this was very early on at Nazare, and I was like just a safety driver. It's like a really boring job. Like 9 times out of 10, you just sort of stand like sitting at the back, nothing happens. You listen to your radio, and Garrett had lost the ski. I went in to save him. I saved Garrett. I saved the surfer, put him on the beach, and it was just me, and I was the only person left in the sea. And I got washed off the jet ski, and like the next 10 seconds were like probably like the most scariest sort of 10 seconds that I've had out there. But luckily, because of those things that we learned early on, we managed to get out of it. Okay, I missed that one. Okay, this is a big wave, and this is about sort of worst case scenarios and fear. And I don't know, like everyone's had had to face a wave, whether it's 2 foot, 10 foot, whatever. It's scary, isn't it? Especially like if you're close to rocks or. This is a big wave. It's a big. I don't know if you can see. Was there a light this thing? So that's a surfer there, a guy called Pedro, it's a Brazilian guy, going down it, and that's me swimming there, in that little thing there. And at this point, this is one of the situations that we never wanted to get into. Like it's right in front of the rocks. One, we said, we'll never surf in front of the rocks, and obviously when good waves come, you want to go, so we went. I went. The second is if you go right near the rocks, don't fall. I fell. The third thing is that okay, right, if someone falls near the rocks, the ski's got to be right in and get them, and the ski's like behind this thing down here. He completely missed me, so I was about to take this on the head in front of the cliff, and that's like working like. Yeah, okay, obviously I was like, the worst case scenario is like, okay, I'm about to take this on the head. Garrett's over there, there's no way he can save me, like, I don't know what's going to happen. But, yeah, but what can, panicking about that sort of situation is not going to change it, so you go, okay, right, so I remember my breathing, like, keep calm, focused. I work with a couple of, like, the best watermen in the world, like, so if anyone's going to get me, they're going to get me. So all I've got to do is just carry on. Yeah, I'm going to be fine. And I can remember that wave breaking on my head and seeing Pedro like come down the side, and I was like, oh man, this is like the worst. I took it on the head. I was like left, right, and centre, upside down, rolled, and sure enough, like the second that I surfaced, the other safety driver, a guy called Hugo, was like literally feet away, and I was there. He got on the sled and he took me to safety. It was like not a problem at all. So this is my family, my wife, my daughter Honey, and my son Ace. And so a few years ago, I lost I was living the dream. Yeah, I was working as a lifeguard on the beach. I had a bit of sponsorship and I was surfing all winter. I'd met some amazing people, and I thought that my career can get any better. And I lost my sponsorship, which pretty much would change the dynamics of my working year, and also got a young family now to support. So I was like, okay, right, it's pretty much 32, was then 37 now. So okay, yeah, I'll just dust off the plumbing tools, get a job. It is what it is. And we had that classic sit down, me and Katie in the kitchen, and then she was just like, well, I was like, okay, well, I'll go in town and get a job. It's no biggie, And she was like, well, what do you really want to do? And I just said, oh, I want to surf the biggest wave in the world. And she was just like, well, just you got to make it happen then. And I was like, all right, okay. Well, it wasn't really the what I was thinking she was going to say. I thought she was going to tell me to get down the job office. But and about this time, my mate, who'd also he was working in a shop in Braunton, but he just bought a camera, and he was like starting to get into film. A guy called Mikey Corker, and he sent me this quote. The fight is won or lost far away from witnesses, behind the lines, in the gym, and out there on the road, long before I dance under those lights. And he had this idea that he was like, you don't need a sponsor, we just got this, we'll make webisodes and we'll put them on the internet and I'll film it. And it was just like crazy idea, and I was like, that's never going to work. But we decided, we put it into a little package of PDF, we went to all these places, trying to sell our idea. The idea was want to get someone to pay us to make these webisodes. And we went to all these in London and sit down in meetings, and it was like, oh yeah, we're going to surf the biggest wave in the world. And they're like, okay, yeah, what time does it come? And we're like, well, it doesn't really work like that, but I reckon we will. Okay, well, do you know what month, or roughly? And I was like, no, well, actually, it might not happen, but that's what we want to do. And they're like, oh, sling it, you can't sell an idea like that. Oh, we want to do this, but it might not happen. And just as we're about to give up, we actually got a company called Epic TV sort of signed the idea, and we had limited budget, but it was like the lifeline. It was like I just finished my season on the beach, and we had this funding, which we weren't going to get rich, but it enabled me to go surfing all winter and it not cost anything. So we started our Behind the Lines project, and then storms like this started coming, but it was for me it was so we had this idea, but we had the support of my wife and my family, and but I suppose it was passion, and it wasn't just from me to as a surfer, but it was also passion from Mikey as a filmmaker to what he wanted to do. And then you have all the things that go into that. So I had an amazing team Garrett, Hugo, really good watermen and like-minded people. We had other photographers that we used and filmers that we used, also really passionate about what they're doing and about the end product. And the end product was to make webisodes, or something that someone could watch and understand about what we were doing. And that was just it was just surfing. And so this storm happens, and it was 3 months into the project, and we all okay, well, we know where to go, these are the moments we've been waiting for. And so we all headed to Portugal. I met up with Garrett, Hugo, we aligned our photographers, and we surfed for that day we surfed for 4 hours, and I caught one wave. And this next clip, if it plays, is that wave. I think this has got a bit of volume on it as well. I don't know if you can. But,
it wasn't one of those sort of rollers. We definitely had a canyon coming sideways, and it was a wedge. Garrett was just what? And I slip around and oh yeah.
So I think the thing for me, how I can relate this to what we're all here about today is okay, that's just surfing, and it's making a YouTube clip which people will watch or may not watch, but it's about with passion and goals and like-minded people, but also with no matter what you do, whether you're just on the beach filming or you can make a difference and you can actually create something. And I think listen to everyone this morning, and that's what we're all doing. Is okay, yeah, I'm just going to pick up from my surf yesterday. I picked up like a bottle on the beach, you know. But that makes a difference, and together it all makes a difference. And for me, especially now, like when I go to the beach with my kids, like teaching my son and my daughter to pick up rubbish, you know, at the age of 4 and put it in the bin, you know, that's starting to make a change. And like now, like, even if I walk in the street, you know, my boy's like, oh, Dad's rubbish on the floor, so I put it in the bin, you know, which can have good and bad, you know, depending on what rubbish is. You know, we've had some scenarios of black bags before, but you know, like I think, you know, that's where, you know, we can all together make a difference. Thank you.